In what way does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? When our group, Callum, Joe and myself, started to plan for Sweet Bullets, we first looked at both classic film noirs and modern neo-noirs. These films include the classic Double Indemnity, 1944, and Sunset Boulevard, 1950, as well as the more modern neo-noirs like Batman Begins, 2005, and Blade Runner, 1982. This allowed us to see the conventions used in classic and modern films and gave us the option to make the choice to follow them, develop them, or even challenge them. By comparing these film noirs to much more modern neo-noirs, we could also track how the genre has evolved over time. When planning our film, we agreed that we wanted to take heavily from previous noirs and so followed many of the conventions used, including low-key lighting, shots of characters' reflections in the mirror, and having an urban setting for our film. As the films were all very successful, we thought that by following some of their conventions, we could in turn make a successful opening to a thriller-inspired film noir. By including these conventions, we also hoped to attract an older audience, as they would feel familiar with this filming style, and so there would be an increased chance of them watching our film and enjoying it. However, as we didn't want our film to simply be a classic noir, we developed some of the conventions, the main of which being the femme fatale. We felt that in modern-day films, the representation of women has increased significantly and that they should be shown to have equal representation to male characters. In classic noir, the femme fatale was usually objectified through revealing clothing for the pleasure of the male audience. We, however, developed their representation and showed them to be strong, powerful characters who were deadly. An example of this in our film is when Nora kills Detective Sampson. In this example, it shows how the femme fatale has risen above the male characters by taking the life of the main male. Throughout Sweet Bullets, we also challenged typical conventions used in noir films. One of the main shot types used in noir films is the shot reverse shot, in which the camera swaps between two characters having a conversation. We decided not to use this conventional camera shot as we wanted our film to be slightly unconventional and stand out from regular films. By not including this, we felt that this would be a welcomed refresh for film viewers, as nearly all films include the shot reverse shot when two characters are talking. The main film that we took inspiration from for our film noir-inspired opening was Sunset Boulevard. During this classic noir, the main character dies, and throughout the rest of the film he narrates how he came to die, as accompanied by flashbacks. We took this concept and applied it to our own film by showing Sampson's shot in the opening scene and the rest of the film acting as a flashback leading to this event. This film is considered to be one of the greatest noir films, and so by taking inspiration from it, we thought it could only positively impact our film. How does your media product represent particular social groups? After seeing how the genre had evolved from classic noirs to modern neo-noirs, we knew that we wanted to have an equal representation of genders. Despite having a male cast as the main character, we still feel that an equal representation was achieved by having two very empowered female characters as the two main secondary characters. On top of this, these were the only three characters shown in the opening and throughout most of the film, showing them to be just as important to the storyline as the main male character. This is supported by the fact that the femme fatale kills the main character, thus showing her to rise in power above the male character to take his life. We knew from the start that we wanted to have an equal representation of genders after the scopophilic view that women were given in films during the 1940s and 50s. We felt that to attract a modern-day audience, we should give the characters a modern-day representation, meaning equal gender roles, which we achieved. Although some, older viewers in particular, may prefer a classic femme fatale character, we challenged this convention by not having them dressed in revealing clothing for the pleasure of the male audience, and gave the female characters roles of high importance. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why? Sweet Bullets is a modern-day noir-inspired thriller film, something that is not usually distributed by large conglomerates, and so independent distributors may be more suited to our film. However, large conglomerates have the advantage of access to impressive funding and the ability to reach the main cinema-going audience. This would allow for companies like Sony to back our film effectively and pay for high-end distribution. This would result in an increased chance of our film becoming successful. Big conglomerates have distributed neo-noirs in the past as well. The Batman series was distributed by Time Warner Brothers, and so they may have good experience of handling noir-inspired films. In the end, we chose a conglomerate to distribute Sweet Bullets as we felt that a big conglomerate would be better suited to handling the distribution needs of our film, and the impressive funding would allow for access to the main cinema-going audience, which happens to be our target audience for our film. Who would be the audience for your media product? We decided that the audience for our media product would be ages 12 to 35. This is the main cinema-going audience, and so we aimed our product at this age group to try and make it as successful as possible. We also believe that our film may attract some older audience members. Due to the filming being heavily noir-inspired, older viewers may feel familiar with the film style and so could be attracted to the film. We set the main target audience for our film as 12 to 35, as the film is not suitable for ages below this age, due to both the violence and the complexity of the storyline, and viewers over this age may not find the film as enjoyable due to the violent scenes. However, we believe that ages 12 to 35 would thoroughly enjoy the film, as they would be able to appreciate the storyline and not find the violence too horrific. In terms of gender, I believe that the film's audience would be approximately 60% male and 40% female. I believe that this would be the case, as the violent scenes would attract male audience members on top of having a male cast as the main character. On the other hand, I also think that the film would attract a lot of female audience members due to the strong female characters and the fact that they make up 2/3 of the main cast, something which not a lot of films do. How did you attract/address your audience? After Callum created a questionnaire using SurveyMonkey, we were able to ask a wide selection of people about their preferences for our film. On top of this, we were able to compare the answers to the age of the person answering the survey to get an idea of what each age group preferences were for the film. The 12 to 35 age gap were the main ones to answer the survey, and so we decided to aim it at them to meet their needs. We planned our film to meet this age group by not only including any graphic violence, but rather having the audience assume when violence was occurring. An example of this is when Samson is shot. The screen goes black and a gunshot sound is played, but you never actually see his body. It is just assumed by the audience. We did this as we felt by showing someone get shot would make the movie a 15, resulting in some of our target audience not being able to see the film. We also addressed our target audience's wishes by having the main part of the film in black and white, but not all of it. This was because a great number of our replies said that they found a whole film in black and white too tedious, and as such we made it so not all the film was lacking in colour. We also addressed the audience's requirements by having a femme fatale with a modern representation. We focused on the thriller aspect of the film, having a mixture of black and white colour scenes, using shadows effectively, the silhouettes for example, having a sad/confusing ending, or cliffhanger, by having Samson die at the end of and letting Nora escape, and by including plot twists, we met all of our audience requirements. What have you learnt about technologies through the process of constructing this product?
Over the course of planning and then creating Sweet Bullets, I feel that my ability to successfully use specific technologies has increased significantly. For example, my ability to use editing software.
The leap from iMovie to Final Cut Pro 10 was very large, and in the beginning my skills were very poor. However, as we began to create short practice videos, my skills increased nearly every day, as can be seen by the videos being played behind me.
Final Cut Pro also allowed us to lay even more layers on as possible than in iMovie, and was handy for us in creating certain sound accents and making certain shots have a shallow depth of field. Final Cut was not the only editing software that I made great advances in. I also used the titling software known as LiveType to create our film's opening credits and film title. This software was completely new to me at the beginning, but over the course I had plenty of practice and I was able to create the necessary credits and titles, all of which included animation on. The final piece of editing software that I made great advances in was GarageBand. This sound editing software is used to create our film's sound accents and most of our background sounds, such as the heartbeat effect. Again, this was new software to me and I found this very difficult to use and navigate at the beginning, but by the time it came to editing the film I was much more confident with the program. Different types of editing software is not the only type of software that I became more accustomed to. My skills in the use of Web 2.0 presentational software also increased. I became more fluent in the use of software such as Prezi and GoAnimate. These were both useful in the planning stages of our film, as they allowed us to put our ideas in a smart, sophisticated format. The ability to use these skills well is very useful and will definitely help me in the future. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learnt from it to the full product? During our preliminary task we learnt 3 filming techniques: the 180-degree rule, the shot reverse shot, and the match in action. A match in action shot is made up of 2 shots put together, the first of which shows a character beginning an action and the second one then completing it. 2 examples of this use in our film is the lead up to Samson getting shot and when Samson enters the murder victim's house. This technique aids continuity and it allows the audience to follow a character and allows for a smooth transition between shots. The second technique we used was the 180-degree rule. This is when an imaginary line runs between 2 characters interacting and the camera stays on one side of the line. This technique can be seen in our preliminary task when the camera stays on one side of the table when Emily and Callum are having a conversation. This was also used in our film when the camera stays on one side of the 2 detectives when investigating the murder. The final technique that we used in our preliminary task was the shot reverse shot. This is most commonly used when 2 characters are having a conversation. The first shot shows a character talking and is followed by a second character replying to the first. Although we did not use this technique in our film, as we wanted to challenge classical conventions used in films, this technique was used in our preliminary task and can be seen when Emily and Callum are talking. Since creating the preliminary task, I feel like my filming and editing capabilities have increased greatly. My ability to use the camera has increased to a high standard, as well as my ability to use editing software. As a result of making Sweet Bullets, I am much more confident in creating a media product and feel I can now make another to an even higher standard with ease.